אוקיי. פרק שביעי, משנה א', 7th chapter, first משנה. בא לו כהן גדול לעזרת נשים. Now, after, I don't know when this is. Is it before he gave the... I'm not sure. Okay, we'll see later on. I'm not quite sure. בא לו כהן גדול לעזרת נשים. The כהן גדול comes to the women's courtyard. So if you remember, where the Kohanim work, that's 95% of the Ezrat Kohanim. But there's also like 10% or maybe even 5% a place where the Israel can be over there, and then there's steps. It's a small strip right in front of the Kohanim that the Israel comes and he puts his hand on the sacrifices before they've been shechted, right? But that's called Ezrat Israel. And then there's Ezrat Nashim, a courtyard outside of that. That's the Ezrat Nashim. So the Kohen Gadol moves from the place where he shechts everything, and he goes out to the Ezrat Nashim. We know when it is. This is after he was told that the goat is already in the desert. What does he do over there? Likrot b'Torah. Again, it's not his job, but on Yom Kippur, the high priest does everything. So he's also going to read the Torah. את פרשת היום, the פרשת היום. אם רצה לקרות בבגדי boots, if he wants to read it in the regular clothing, the white clothing that he's wearing right now, קורא, רשאי הוא לקרוא בהם. He's allowed to read in them. ואם לא, if he doesn't feel like it, שלא רצה לקרות בבגדי לבן, because usually the high priest, you know, he's a big macher. He doesn't want to be seen like a regular priest, so he doesn't want to wear the regular clothing. קורא באצטלית לבן משלו. He can get his own fancy white garment of his own. Bring from home whatever you want. You don't want to look fancy, go ahead, be fancy. In other words, what does it show you? It shows you it's not part of the services. He's not doing God's work now. This is a custom. It's a minhag. Let's call it a custom. It's not part of what designated by God for him to do. Min chaluk aroch. הטעם מבואר בגמרא, the reason is found in the Gemara, לפי שקריאת הפרשה אינה עבודה, it's not part of the service, reading of the Torah. ומכל מקום מותר לו לקרוא גם מדי לבד, but nevertheless, he's allowed to do it with the, so if he's not, so that now becomes a problem. If it's not part of the service, why are you wearing white clothes? The clothing of the service. But it says, nevertheless, you're allowed to. לפי שבגדי כהונה ניתנו ליהנות בהם במקדש, because the white garments was given not only to do the work, it's to do, once you're in the temple, you're allowed to enjoy them. וללבשם שם, אפילו שלא בשעת עבודה, you're allowed to eat, for example, or do something, I don't know, you're allowed to scratch your, whatever you want to do, rest a little bit. With בגדי לבן, even though you're not working, so therefore you're also allowed to read the Torah if you're not working. It's okay. חזן הכנסת, I don't know what's the definition of Chazan, but let's say the Gabbai. The Gabbai of the Knesset. What's the Gabbai of the Knesset? Oh, this is an interesting thing. Hashamash shel Beit Knesset. In the temple, there was also a shul, place where people davened. Yeah. Shaya samuch la'azara behar habayit. He was close to the Azara on the Temple Mount. Nikral Chazan milashon chozeh. I didn't know that. Why do we call a Chazan? Because he's a seer. He sees. What does he see? שצריך הוא לראות מהם צרכי הציבור ולהכין הכל. He needs to see what does the congregation need. Who needs what needs whom, and so on and so forth. In other words, his job is to make sure that they have whatever they need. He is the servant of the congregation. That's why he calls Chazan. He needs to see the necessities of the people who come. נוטל ספר תורה, he takes the ספר תורה מבית הכנסת, from the shul, ונותנו לראש הכנסת, and he gives it to the head of the shul. Who's the head of the shul? הוא הקובע בכל בית הכנסת. Let's call the Rav. He gives it to the rabbi of the shul. Yeah? כגון מי ירד לפני התיבה, מי יקרא בתורה, מי יפטיר וכדומה. He decides who's going to come, who's going to be the chazan, who's going to read the Torah.
Maybe auction, maybe that's the auction.
I don't think so. Yeah, but that's what it is. He decides. וראש הכנסות נותנו לסגן. And the head of the shul gives it to the second in command. היינו הממונה תחת כהן גדול. He was underneath him. שיהיה ממלא מקומו מרוב פסול. That if he becomes blemished, then it's going to be him taking over. והסגן נותנו לכהן גדול, and the second in command gives it to the high priest. טעם כל זה, why you need so many people? כדי להרבות בכבודו של כהן. When you see that there's many people who giving it to him, it increases the glory of the high priest. שכל אלו באים לשרתו, all these people come to serve him. לקיים, to do the fulfillment, ברוב עם הדרת מלך. That when you give a place for anybody in power, you have to make sure that it's with good honor. וכהן גדול עומד ומקבל ספר התורה מיד הסגן. The high priest received the ספר תורה from the hand of the second in command, וקורא עומד. And he reads it while standing. קורא בעמידה. He reads it while standing. מלשון המשנה עומד ומקבל. How do we know it? Because it says he stands and he receives. מסיקה הגמרא שהיה מקודם יושב. From here we see, it says that he needs to stand and read. So now, until now, what was he doing? He was sitting. So now he's standing and then. So this is how we know also that it wasn't read in the place of the Kohanim or even Israel. Why? Because in the place of the Kohanim or even Israel, you're not allowed to sit. So that's how we know that it was in Ezrat Nashim. ומכאן שהיה קורא בעזרת נשים. From here we learned that he used to read in the women's courtyard. By the way, it was called women's courtyard, but there was no women there. It was only men. The women were on top. Yeah. שכן בעזרת ישראל ההלכה היא שאין ישיבה בעזרה. Because בעזרת ישראל nobody's allowed to sit, אלא למלכי דוד בלבד. Only if you are a king and from the dynasty of King David. Only they're allowed to sit in the עזרת ישראל, in the place.
מה אם אתה קשיש?
No? Stand?
לא כמו היום, אומרים לו, שב, אתה קשיש, אתה בן 60, שב, אין לך כוח לעמוד.
Over here no, but over here you don't need to. Over here you don't need to. Over there you need to. It's a big difference. There's some mitzvahs you have to stand. Also over here, for some things you have to stand in Yom Kippur. I tell them. So some things you're allowed to sit.
כן, לא, אבל אתה רואה את הכוח של האנשים, אין להם כוח. לא?
But the Kshishim didn't go, because they know they can stand. That's all he said. He just prevented them from going. It wasn't so good for them.
They wouldn't go there.
They can't. They're not allowed to. I mean, they would go. Maybe somebody would hold them. Yeah, but they're not allowed to sit. וזהו שביארנו לעיל, בא לו כהן גדול לעזרת נשים. This is what we explained, that the high priest came to the women's courtyard. וקורא בספר התורה, and he reads in ספר תורה, אחרי מות, the death of נדב ונביהו. היינו פרשת העבודה, and also over there it says, this is what they did in Yom Kippur. The whole thing. So he reads that, היינו פרשת העבודה של יום הכיפורים, and then he reads, this is in ויקרא, and then he skips, and he reads, ואח בעשור. שבפרשת המועדות בסדר אמור. I think ואח בעשור is פרשת פנחס, all the way in the end, where we read the, all the holidays over there. That's where it is. Yeah. ואף על פי שצריך לגלות ספר תורה מאחרי מות לפרשת המועדות. But now you need to roll the ספר Torah from one place to another place. It's not that far, by the way. It takes, if somebody knows, he can do it quick, it will take 30 seconds. Not more, yeah. But אין זה כבוד לציבור שיהיה מחכה. But you don't make the congregation wait. מכל מקום הואיל והפרשיות סמוכות הן, but nevertheless, since they are very close to each other, these פרשיות, הרי אפשר לגלול בעוד שהמתורגם מתרגם פסוק אחרון של אחרי מות. In that time, every verse that was read, there was somebody who would translate it. Yeah. So once there's enough time, because they're so close to each other, that until the guy gives a translation, you can get it over there, so you don't have to wait for the congregation. ולאחר שקרא אח בעשור, no, אח בעשור is not פרשת פנחס. אח בעשור is also ויקרא. ולאחר שקרא אח בעשור, צריך עוד לקרוא ובעשור לחודש השביעי. That's what I confused. בעשור לחודש השביעי, that's in פרשת פנחס. And that's a long time. Yeah, so from Vayikra, it's short, so you don't have, the congregation doesn't need to wait. But now it's a long one, so now they will have to wait. אלא משום כבוד הציבור, הואיל בצריך לגלול מאח בעשור ועד בעשור, מפסיק הכהן את קריאתו בתוך ספר התורה, וגולל ספר תורה, and he rolls up the ספר תורה לאחר קריאה אח בעשור. On the second one, on ויקרא, he stops, זהו, he puts it under his bosom, ומניחו בחיקו, ואומר לעם, and he tells the nation, יותר ממה שקראתי לפניכם כתוב כאן. You should know there's other places in the Torah that is more. Yeah? I'm not going to make you wait for it. כלומר, שמודיע לציבור שאין הספר שבידו חסר כלום. He tells them, this ספר Torah is kosher, and I can get to the place if I want. וגם מה שעומד לקרוא בעל פה, and now he's going to say the פרשת פנחס by heart. He's not going to read from ספר Torah. Why? Because he doesn't want to make them wait. He says,
so it's important.
You don't wait for the congregation.
So bring another Sefer Torah.
No, it says the same Sefer Torah. You read in the Sefer Torah. That's the problem. Yeah? וגם מה שעומד לקרוא בעל פה כתוב בו, כדי שלא יחשבו שחזרה באותה פרשה. To make sure that the people know, hey, you read from not a good Sefer Torah. It's like, no. The Sefer Torah over here has the parsha. I'm not going to make you wait, so I'm going to read it by heart. That's what he tells them. ובעשור שבחומש הפקודים, and he reads then, he doesn't read, he said by heart. בעשור ובחומש הפקודים, פרשת בעשור לחודש השביעי, הכתובה בחודש המדבר, הוא נקרא פקודים, this is in the book of במדבר, על שם הכתוב, מבית 20 שנה ומעלה תפקדו אותם, that they were counted, in English it's called numbers I think, שבו פותח חומש זה, קורא על פה, he reads it by heart. He doesn't read it, he says it by heart. מהטעם שכבר ביארנו לעיל, from the reason what we explained before, הוא מברך עליה. And then he makes the blessing. What's the blessing? על קריאתו בתורה, 8 ברכות. There's 8 blessings. What are the blessings? The לקמן. These are the blessings. על התורה, the famous one we know is על התורה. Yeah? ברכת התורה שלפניה ושלאחריה, ושניהם מנויות כאחת. This is the regular ones we say today. The before and the after of על התורה. כדרך שמברכים בית הכנסת, just the same way we say today. And then, ועל העבודה, in all the service, ברכת רצה אלוקינו, וחותם בה הבוחר בעבודת ישראל ברחמים. The service of the temple, then על ההודעה, on the thank, which means, the מודים אנחנו לך, the one we say in 18, מודים אנחנו לך, that's what he says over there. ועל ההודעה, מודים אנחנו לך, כמו ב-18, ועל מחילת העוון, then he makes another blessing on God giving us, forgiving us our sins, ברכת סלח לנו, this is the blessing of סלח, וחותם במוחל עוונות עמו ישראל ברחמים, we thank God. Yeah? In the Siddur of Yom Kippur, not on the regular. Yeah. That he forgives the nation of Israel in mercy, ועל המקדש בפני עצמו, and then there's an extra one on the temple, that God gave us a temple, ברכה מיוחדת על המקדש, שיעמוד על מכונו, that he's going to stand, ותשרה בו שכינה, and God is going to dwell in it, וחותם השוכן בציון, and he ends that God dwells in Zion, ועל ישראל בפני עצמם, and then he says a blessing on the Jews, שלא יסלק השם שכינתו מישראל, that God is going to dwell amongst the Jewish people, וחותם הבוחר בישראל, and then he ends the one who chose the Jewish nation, ועל ירושלים בפני עצמה, and then he makes another one for ירושלים, on its own, לפי שהברייתא בגמרא, אין גורסים פסקה זאת, the ברייתא says there's no ירושלים, but over here it says it, ועל הכהנים בפני עצמם, and then he has one more on the כהנים, on the Kohen by themselves, שיקבל השם קורבנותיהם ברצון, that God is going to accept all the service, וחותם מקדש הכהנים, and then he says, sanctifies the כהנים, ועל שאר התפילה, and then on the rest of the davening, תחינה ובקשה לעם ישראל, he asks for the Jewish nation, שצריכים להיוושע, that need salvation, וחותם, ברוך אתה השם שומע תפילה. He says, blessed are you, God, that's going to listen to all our prayers.